Alright, so this is Unit 2, Lesson 3.7. Mostly here we're going to be applying this last here, so this last target here, so I can apply rates, ratios, percentage, and proportions. Okay, so recall that percent means a part of 100. Okay, for example, 63% is 63 parts of 100, so it means it's a fraction out of 100. So writing a percent as a fraction, you can use a proportion to solve percent problems. So find 15% of 120. Okay, a lot of us would probably think to multiply 120 by 0.15. Okay, so if I did that, I can just take (120) times 0.15, and I get that equals 18. So 18 is 15% of 120. So 8 is what percent of 20? So for here, you guys probably know that I could just do 8 divided by 20. Just kind of like if we had 20 questions on a test and you got 8 out of 20. Okay, and then I do 8 divided by 20, and I get, that is 40%. Okay, you guys are probably pretty good at those easy ones, right? But we could also use our little formula, is over of equals percent over 100, which you guys have probably done before. So every statement of percent can be expressed verbally. One number is some percent of another number. Percent statements always involve three numbers. For example, 10, the number 10 is 50% of 20. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to use this formula, is over of equals our percent over 100. Okay, so is over of equals percent over 100. So if I wanted to write this out here, I would do is my 10 here. So that's my is number. My of number is right here, 20. And I know that's 50 is my percent, okay, over 100. So think about this proportion here. This makes sense. 10 over 20 equals 50 over 100. If I reduce both of those equal a half, right? Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit and let's go through a couple of examples. So there's three different things. We always are probably either going to ask for what percent, what number is, and what number of. Alright, so it could always ask us for the percent, okay, the is, or the of. Okay, and identifying that's pretty important. Okay, so this first one says what percent. Alright, so I know, if I set up my equation here, I know that the percent, this spot up here, is going to be my x, because that just told me what percent. So that's going to be my x. And 100 always goes on the bottom right. Okay, and then if I read my problem, it tells me of 60. So that's going to be my of. Okay, is 9. Okay, so then I'm just going to go ahead and solve my proportion here. So I'm going to do 60 times x equals 9 times 100, which is 900, and then I divide them both by 60. So x equals 90 divided by 60, which is, oh, that can't be right, 900 divided by 60, which equals 15. Alright, so let's look at number 2. Okay, so I'm going to erase this here. Okay, and set up my proportion. And I always know that this 100 is going to go right there. So now it says what number is. So my is right here. So I know that that's going to be my variable. 30%. Alright, so these are a little different than our old problems. We're just literally going to plug in that 30. I don't have to move a decimal. And then of goes down here. Okay, so if I want to go ahead and solve that, I'm going to cross multiply. So 100x equals, what's 30? 90 times 30 is going to be 2700. Then I'm going to divide each side by 100. And I get x equals 27. Okay, so 27 is 30% of 90. Alright, let's try 3. Okay, so now I'm going to always start off by writing my proportion and putting my 100 on the bottom. So now it says 75 is, so that tells me that goes where the is goes. Okay, I see my percent, 62.5 goes right there. And then of what number? Of what number? So that tells me my of, I don't know. That's my question, of what number? Okay, so now I'm going to set up my proportion. Okay, so I'm going to write it down here. 62.5x equals 75 times 100 is 7,500. Okay, then I'm going to divide each side by 62.5. So 7,500 divided by 62.5. So x equals 120. Alright, so 75 is 62% of 120. Alright, go ahead and try those U tries and make sure you plug in the correct answer in Zaption. Okay, so now we have a little bit more of a word problem here. So it says, a survey asked 220 freshman students to name their favorite pasta dish. Okay, find the percent of freshmen who chose the given pasta dish. Okay, so macaroni and cheese. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set up my proportion. Okay, and I know it goes over 100. Alright, and it says find the percent. So what am I going to put in for my x? It's not going to be is, it's not going to be the of, it's going to be the percent. Okay, so it says a survey asked 220 freshman students. So that's going to be my total. So that's 220. Alright, and how many liked mac and cheese? So I need to find mac and cheese over here. 33 did. So I'm going to plug in 33 here. Okay, and then I can just cross multiply. So I'm going to write it all the way over here. 220x equals 33 times 100 is 3,300. And then divide each side by 220. Okay, so 3,300 divided by 220 equals 15. So what does that mean? That means 15% like mac and cheese. Alright, so let's do fettuccine alfredo. Alright, so I'm going to draw my proportion. 100 always goes on the bottom. I'm still looking for the percent, so I know x is going to be there. And I know that the total students, so how many of the total students liked fettuccine alfredo, which I got from right there, is 22. Alright, and now I'm going to cross multiply. So 22 times 100 is 2200 equals 220x. And then I'm going to divide each side by 220. So x equals 10%. So that means 10% of the students like fettuccine alfredo. All right, and let's look at C. There are actually a total of 809 students at your school. Write a proportion that you can use to predict the number of students from the entire school population who named baked ziti as their favorite pasta. Then solve it. Okay. So there's actually 809, all right? So my proportion, this takes us back to the last lesson, all right? So I want to set up to figure out how many students may have liked baked ziti if I had more kids. So at this school, I know that we surveyed 220 kids, and 16 of them liked baked ziti. So we're saying now this is my total going this way, and this is my baked ziti going this way. So I don't know how many kids like baked ziti, but I know that there's a total of 809 students at our school. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and solve my proportion. Alright, so I'm going to do 220 times x equals 16 times 809. So 16 times 809 equals 12,944. Alright, so now I divide each side by 220. And I get x equals 58.8. Okay, but I need to remember that this is a student, so I don't want to say 58.8 students. And normally I would round down if I needed like a number, but I could round that one up and say approximately, that little squiggly means approximately, 59 students would choose baked ziti. Okay, go ahead and try that last U try. Okay, if you need to watch any of this again just to get a better idea about this example too. Alright, because there was a lot going on there, but we'll do some extra practice in class tomorrow too. Alright, and then make sure you answer the last question on Zaption.